Hmm. Ugh.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Hope you guys are all excited and ready for what should be a fantastic end to a very strong trading week. Very excited to be here. And yeah, looking forward to seeing basically what the market has in store for us here today. Hopefully, a busy, profitable, and successful trading day here. A few things to kind of just go over from a operational perspective before we really kick off in earnest, and just one sec. Apologies, guys. Sorry about that. So yeah, really looking forward to what should hopefully be a successful trading day. And yeah, I got a few operational things right that need to kind of go over. So today I do have a hard out. So I've got to get out of here relatively reasonably or relatively smoothly here this morning. I have an appointment with my car dealership. Got to basically do a little post Canada drive, post cross country Canada drive checkup, oil change, all that kind of fun stuff. And so I got to get down to Vancouver for 11. So I do have to get out of here, yeah, with kind of a firm out today. And then, yeah, I'll be kind of sitting around the city all day. Besides that, no stream on Monday, right? I've got some family over here this weekend and going to be, yeah, playing host. So have that kind of going on here in the background. And then, yeah, it's also OPEX day here, right? So it's option expiration Friday. What that means, right, is that daily, weekly, and monthly options are all expiring here today. So it's very similar to like the type of forced buying or forced selling, right, that one would get during the futures roll. So there's an opportunity, right, for today to have some pretty tremendous volume, albeit maybe not volume that is necessarily the easiest to trust. Historically, OPEX is like more of a bearish day than a bullish day. It's not a guarantee, but generally just ends up being people electing their options, right? Taking delivery of their shares and then looking to sell those positions to basically realize their profits. That can certainly be something that happens. And the reason, right, why you are willing to um, allocate to shares, right, instead of just selling your pure options contract, is that if you have a really large position and you're looking to sell that for a profit, you're going to deal with a lot more slippage if you try to purely just sell the options contract. Whereas if you know, have, let's say, Apple calls from last month at 200, and now you're, you know, $12 in the money, you're better off taking the shares, right? Realizing your $12 gain there on the shares and then closing that position inside the Apple shares. I don't know why I said it that way, but realizing your position that way, and you're just going to deal with a lot less slippage and you're going to get a lot better fills effectively. So a good opportunity here potentially, right, for there to be maybe like a little bit of a localized top here this morning. And we're just going to see basically how price action wants to behave relative to that. The other element, right, is it's been a really strong trading week. You know, we've had good momentum. We've seen good enthusiasm. We've seen price action really reward us well here. And I don't want to do anything, right, that ruins basically that week. You know, we're on a nice little streak here. We're seeing good momentum show up. We're seeing, you know, the opportunities, right, to pyramid into positions. And we're managing our risk very well here. And I think the more that we focus on basically just those elements instead of like needing today to be that big like dopamine release day of like, oh, I need today to be the day I become a millionaire type attitude, the better our trading is going to go and the more successful, right, there we are going to be. So fundamentally, right, really looking forward to seeing, you know, basically what kind of puzzle the market decides to give us here today. And hopefully, right, we have the tools and the skill and the technique in place to be able to execute that effectively and hopefully, right, compound away here and keep kind of stacking up some wins. The other element here, I think Preet mentioned this in the members chat. There is some deplorable piece of shit who is, again, continuing to attempt to impersonate me. It isn't me. I would not ask you guys for money to trade for you or anything along those lines. So please, if they contact you or attempt to send you a friend request or something along those lines, please report them. It isn't me. Their username is starting with a period, so they're doing period Michael DTR, and they're kind of messing around in that situation. Oh, I'm sorry about that, Mike. What did he ask for? Well, this individual's been trying to blackmail me here all week. And I'm a little bit annoyed that Discord hasn't yet banned their account. It's a little bit ridiculous. But yeah, if it continues to be an issue or it's something that persists, we're going to find an alternative platform here. Because yeah, I really don't like that. They're sending Discord DMs, Jeff. They're like submitting friend requests and then whatever. Yeah, I mean the blackmail he's trying to do, AJ. He's the DMs I have from him are comical. But he's asking me to, or he's saying that I'm asking him to scam you guys. And yeah, he's starting off with that message, and then once you give him a positive response, he's asking you to send him money to trade for him. please don't do that. Would not be asking you that. It's strictly illegal for me to ask you to give me money to trade for you. Don't have the KYC requirements or anything along those lines. So please, right, don't fall for that scam. But yeah, he's basically saying that I've putting him up to it, keeps asking me for money, then deletes that message, and then asks me for money and deletes that message. And he's like, so I'll expose you for asking me to do this to your community. That's basically what he's trying to blackmail me with. So it's been a little bit of chaos dealing with that individual here. Hopefully we can get it solved and fixed in the next couple of days. But just bear with me. The more people that report them, hopefully the sooner, right? The sooner they get reported, the sooner they get banned, and the more people that report them, right, the more likely the ban is to take into effect. So hopefully, right, we can get ourselves a relatively strong trading day in spite of that. It's just kind of noise in the background, and it is what it is. So we'll continue to focus on basically just the variables we can control here this morning. And yeah, looking forward to seeing basically how the market comes together. The thing that'll you can notice right with this individual is they are not a part of the server. So when you see them and they send you a friend request, they're not going to have any mutual servers in common. They're going to have some mutual friends in common, but they're not a part of the DTR server. And that's kind of how you can know it's not me, right? So yeah, let me know if they do continue to harass you or bother you or anything along those lines. But I do appreciate, I do appreciate all of your guys' cooperation here in this matter. If we have, we might have to get that blue belt here, right, coming in and doing some serious damage for us. But with that being said, not too much else for me to yap on about here this morning. Like I said, excited to be trading with you all here today. And yeah, hopefully we can kind of put ourselves in a good situation to finish off the week with a bang. So not the busiest of economic calendars, at least not relative to yesterday. We've got housing starts, building permits, right? Consumer sentiment, nothing too crazy. And then, that 10 a.m. data might slow us down just a little bit, but I can't imagine it's going to be anything here too nuts. We've also seen price action basically just be in that like grind higher type mode this week, or at least in sort of like the last couple of days. And, if that means we have to be slow, no problem. We've had a relatively busy trading. We've had lots of action. We've had lots of nice little wins. So if I don't get any more trades here today, not the end of the world. With that being said, let's start mapping things out. Let's figure out what we want to do here this AM. Put ourselves in just a great situation to absolutely just dominate the market. So first things first, what's the count on ES? Let's start there. And hopefully, right, we can get into some good shape this morning. Yeah, spot on, right? So 3 for 3 here to the upside. What may be about this 3 for 3 tells us it's maybe not like the world's strongest price action. There's two things here that maybe are giving me kind of a clue. Yeah, exactly, right? It's the fake out lower low. At post inside bar fake out, maybe not the biggest kind of concern, right? Or maybe not the biggest end of the world. That's definitely something, right, to be aware of. And then the volume is increasing, but it's not an outlier. So, with option expiration here occurring today, it wouldn't be unreasonable for there to be larger volume than what we saw there yesterday. So we're going to call this a 3 for 3 to the upside. And we'll see how it kind of shapes up from there. We're at 59.50 here pre-market. So starting point here to the upside is going to be 59.60. And then again, right, that path to 6,000 very much in play still. I don't know if we're going to push up all the way to like 61.150. But if we can get up to like, I don't know, 60-30, 60-40, right? That would be pretty good. So we'll go 60-10, 60-20. 60-30, 60-40. And again, right, VIX is at 17 spot 43. So implied range is like just a little bit over 1% here this morning. So, I would be surprised if we get that 100 points worth of follow through right here to the upside. I'd be happily surprised, right, if it does happen, but kind of a textbook scenario where maybe it's setting up for a slower Friday. And I'm basically just like all my energy, all my focus, all my good vibes, if you want to call it that, it is into making sure that today I don't do anything that I'm gonna like fester on as I'm having dinner with family, right? Certainly don't want to be doing that. If I'm looking at the wine bill that I'm gonna be taking care of, I want that to be happy wine and not sad wine. So really want to make sure, right, that today is a day where I walk away feeling as if I followed all of my trading rules, right, and didn't do something that is going to basically ruin my weekend of just like sitting and thinking about price action. To the downside here, I do think it's reasonable for us to maintain a little bit of flexibility, albeit with like extreme prejudice. So 59.20 kind of as my starting point here to the downside. That's kind of effectively my pre-market low. And then down towards yesterday's fake out low of 58.70, I think is a reasonable space. That 59.20 to 58.70 is approximately 1% worth of range. I think that would be a reasonable sized pullback if something does kind of occur here. And yeah, we'll see if that ends up kind of coming into play here this morning. We'll call that 58.70, right? We said. And, to a certain extent, we're like one of the best indications, right, of what type of trending market it is post big volume breakout, right? Like we established there on Monday. Like which direction is price action grinding, right? Right now, price action is grinding here to the upside. It's kind of, turning up its gears, right, higher. And so certainly looks like that is what's in control here or who's in control. But if we get that opportunity to sell off, these types of markets, when you get those kind of bearish moves or those like counter trend moves, those moves can happen really quickly, right? They can happen very aggressively and they can put you in situations, right, where it's more fun to trade to the downside than it is to play the higher probability setup here to the upside. We want to just manage those expectations here reasonably today, and hopefully that'll put us in a good situation to have a lot of joy. All right. NQ, how do we feel? Similar, not so similar? Yeah, right. So very similar story, probably a slightly weaker candle, right, than what we have on ES. ES held above that previous day high, NQ didn't. So it kind of looks a bit more like a fake out higher, fake out lower. And I always hate like my least favorite candles in the world are those high volume dojis, right? High volume indecision is the worst decision. And it's basically just like bulls are screaming at bears and bears are screaming at bulls. And it's like, what the heck are they talking about, right? So we want to make sure that we're not getting trapped in what might be a little bit of choppy conditions. And I'm going to reluctantly say that maybe today it'll be a little bit easier for us to focus on ES versus NQ. And hopefully, right, that gives us a clear opportunity. Thanks for that message, Rebecca. That is the individual who we're trying to report. So yeah, weaker 3 for 3 here to the upside, right? Our pre-market target is going to be, 530. So that's where we're at pre-market. We're going to look at 21.6 as our starting point here to the upside. And then to the downside, right, we're going to be looking for a move down towards 21.2. All right, and then that gives us a little bit of enthusiasm Again, right? Probably not expecting like the largest or most aggressive trend day here. And we'll basically see how price action wants to react to the option expiration. If we can get clean narratives, cool. If we can't, not a big deal. Also worth mentioning, right, that with the option expiration, we're not necessarily expecting NQ or ES to be the ones that give us the tremendous amount of volatility, but it's when people are selling their options on Apple or Tesla or Nvidia, right, on our leading names, that's going to impact, right, how the indexes move here this morning. So we need to be really kind of deliberate, right, and making sure that the stories across the board are consistent if we're going to kind of get that clean bit of price action. All right, so Apple, green candle, decreasing volume, gap up. We're going to call this a week 2 out of 3 to the upside, right, without volume. Kind of just looks like a consolidation here, maybe starting to bull flag a little bit, but not exactly a high conviction narrative. So let's put ourselves in a good situation here this morning, and then we can kind of go from there. Tesla here to the upside, right? Same thing, 2 out of 3 to the upside without volume. Lower low, lower high. So there are reasons for us to be a little bit pessimistic about the quality of this price action. But if it can break out right above that 350, I mean, Tesla's been a beast here. So let's be a little bit cautious and make sure it continues to give us a nice story. Microsoft here, increasing volume, weak looking candle, bit of a fake out high. And then it's a gap down. So we're going to call this a week 2 out of 3 with volume. Can't spell. Sweet. Amazon, red candle, increasing volume, gap up. So again, this is a week 2 out of 3 with volume. And it's a week 2 out of 3 with to the downside, right? Kind of trying to still fill that gap. Hasn't completely filled it. Might want to try it at some point. But it kind of feels like it's now setting up for like a bottom up gap fill. So maybe that's something that happens Monday, Tuesday, next week, something like that. AMD, big gap up. Call this a 1 for 3 here. Right, red candle, decreasing volume, big gap up. Kind of did that gap fill. So it's still got a little bit left there. But it's got quite a bit of work to do before it fills it. So maybe this is the opportunity, right, for that breakout and go. Nvidia, 2 out of 3 here to the upside, kind of looks a bit more like NQ. So this is kind of our consistent narrative, right? Weak candle shape, decreasing volume, gap up. I mean, certainly looking like it wants to continue on this trend line breakout. So hopefully, right, we can get that kind of nice follow through there towards that 150. I know there's a lot of people here who have Nvidia as part of their long-term portfolios, and it kind of does seem like it's getting back to life after a little bit of profit taking in some of the chaos we saw at the start of the year. Meta with a textbook 3 for 3 here to the downside. And already, right, we're kind of seeing that each name is kind of giving us a slightly different variant of a story, right? So we're seeing one story here to the upside, one story to the downside, one story of momentum, one story of like no momentum. So again, right, we're being told the narrative that, hey, maybe today's going to be a little bit slower and we want to be cautious and patient and deliberate instead of trying to just like force something across the line. Okay, Netflix, little wedge breakout here, 3 for 3 to the upside. Yeah, literally one name trending higher, one name trending lower. And so we'd be looking for a continuation narrative. Probably the only thing missing on Netflix is that increasing outlier volume. So volume could step up, right, and defend this narrative. That would put us in good shape. And then Google, quick little inside bar here, and we're looking for a wedge breakout continuation. Right, basically up and over. Google seems to be basically like 1 day behind Netflix, right? Kind of seems like that. That's sort of the story. So if we can get a nice little pop here, a nice little breakout, good continuation narrative, I think there's no reason why it couldn't hit that kind of 170 target and then go from there. And then finally, like we mentioned, right, VIX hanging out 17 spot 42. Feels like such a long time since we've had VIX consistently inside these sort of handles, and seeing that fear effectively evaporate from the market has given us some slightly easier trading conditions. And we've kind of cycled back into maybe more normal markets. And so if we continue to kind of get that grindy type of price action, so be it. We've done a good enough job here managing that. And then yeah, hopefully, right, we can continue to kind of build off of some of this momentum and look to kind of keep pushing higher, right? Building that story for ourselves and hopefully identifying some strong trending PA. So, any questions here this morning, team? Anything maybe that I haven't mentioned, or any tickers that you guys want to look at? Let's go over that here quickly. Otherwise, it's just about coffee o'clock. And I guess really the theme, right, of today here is it's Capital Preservation Friday, right? Make sure we don't do anything that's gonna keep us up at night here this weekend or make us, drown our sorrows, right, in a cocktail or something along those lines. Make sure that we finish the week right on a high. We've done a really good job here managing the enthusiasm, right, that the market has given us. It's been a great trading week. So, the risk reward ratio, right, of turning what's been a really strong week, right, into an even stronger week, it's going to be challenging for us to do that, right? Like the probability of us, like say, doubling our P&L here today is lower than the chance of like giving back 50% of our P&L chasing, right, trying to make that double up. So, although I don't anticipate myself to get stuck in that here today, it's important that we basically set expectations realistically and don't like impose on ourselves this expectation that today is going to be a 10% day or something along those lines, right? So being deliberate, kind of like imposing discipline on ourselves from the very get-go is going to put us in a much better situation than just like hoping today is going to be a blind trend day. It's almost one of those types of pre-markets where you want to plan and expect for the worst, but almost hope for the best if we can get that clean price action. And certainly with option expiration or OPEX on the calendar, we do have the opportunity, right, to get some joy. But let's just make sure that those stories are consistent and we see a clean narrative across the board. Any questions here, team? How's everyone feeling? It's a happy Friday for everybody. Love that, AJ. Fantastic. How's everyone having a green week here so far? We're on a nice little streak here. Was that 8 days in a row? Love it, Kiki. And for us Canadians, right? It's a long weekend here coming up, right? So I know a lot of people taking holidays, right? Doing some time away, right? Whatever it might be. So don't allow vacation brain into tricking you into skipping steps, right? So looking ahead to your vacation is a good thing, but looking ahead to your vacation and like wanting to enjoy your well-deserved break shouldn't mean that we like force something here today, right? Or do anything crazy or yeah, like try to square peg into a round hole, the price action. We got to make sure, right, that we take advantage of whatever moves are available to us. All right, teams. We got 3-ish minutes, 3.5 minutes till market open. I'm just gonna go make myself a quick cup of coffee, spend a minute here, just kind of get my mind right for what should hopefully be a successful trading day. And then we'll jump back on as kind of markets open and get ready for what should hopefully be a strong end to the week. So be back in a couple minutes and we'll talk then. All right, everyone. So, yeah, let's get ready for what should hopefully be an awesome trading day. Excited to see what basically volatility is in store for us. And yeah, hopefully it's a strong open, clean, consistent narrative and we'll be one and done here this morning and just have some joy. So, looking forward to it. Let's see what we have in store. And yeah, let's then kind of go from there. Worth mentioning, if it's worth mentioning. I had my uncle, my aunt were in town here yesterday, so they dropped by like late at night yesterday, kind of like oh, we're in town, let's come over type thing. And I had coffee way too late in the evening. So if you hear me starting to yawn because I didn't get my 8 hours, bear with me here. I promise you, it's not you guys. It's yeah, it's the amount of Starbucks I had at 6 p.m. yesterday. All right, so let's see how the day goes. Again, right, we're expecting sellers a little bit, right, with just the option expiration. We're anticipating people to elect and sell their positions, but we'll see, right? We'll see if that actually ends up being the narrative, right? Like the volume, right? This is what you can tell right away. Volume's really aggressive. It's really big. And this is sort of what you'd expect here on option expiration day, right? So we're already, a buck 10 into the trading day, and we're just seeing a pretty tremendous volume standard, right, on our leading names. Pretty much everywhere across the board is larger than what we saw there yesterday, already kind of like the largest volume of the week. And that's just that OPEX, right? That's people closing their positions and electing, and then force buying, force selling, right? Whatever it might be, to basically realize their profit. So let's see, right? If that creates a consistent narrative for us, maybe we do have to be a little bit more patient here today, waiting for that 10 a.m. data, right, to settle in. But let's cross that bridge when we get to it. And again, right, we're going to be judging once the opening range gets established. We're going to be judging basically how strong the initial breakout or breakdown is. A consistent breakdown, right, it's going to be a much easier story for us, or a consistent breakout is going to be a much easier story for us. A fake out higher, fake out lower is going to slow us down here just a little bit this AM. And then, like I mentioned, I have a hard out here today. So I have to be out of here by no later than 11 Eastern, right? So like 8 a.m. Pacific. So hopefully, right, that isn't something that I get stuck in or anything along those lines. But yeah, that'll definitely be something that we need to kind of keep aware of. And yeah, hopefully it's a strong day. Like I said, right, the goal is to be one and done here today. Get one good trade to start the session off, and then just go walk away and spend the rest of the day staring at the dealership. So yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. But yeah, let's rock and roll. I think it's going to be a good day. Okay, so good volume at the open, right? As we expected. And then now we want to see, right, how strong those breakouts happen. Oh, yeah, just forgot to mention CL. I think I skipped that in the prep here today. It's roll day on CL, right? So this is the day where we switch from the June contract, right, to the July contract. So that should be reflected in our trading views or in your charting platform there tomorrow. Generally don't want to trade here during the roll again, right? It's just hard to trust the volume, hard to trust kind of the momentum that is created there. So we will want to be maybe a little bit biased into just avoiding CL. We'll see if that ends up happening, but yeah, definitely something to kind of worth keeping an eye on. Already maybe like an initial baby little fake out lower. Let's see if that sustains. I mean, it's a little bit too early to call it a fake out, but again, right, maybe some indications of some of that choppy type conditions. We did get a 2-minute bearish reversal here on NQ. That might be a little bit aggressive. I would be interested in this. So we're looking at what, 167 points. Early for me to do this math. So we'd be looking at right around there. So 21,259, we'll call it. All right, and it would be mapped out effectively like this. Yesterday, we had some good mean reversion setups as well, but it was basically like a fake out first, right, before those moves ever occurred. So if we're looking at the mean reversion setups, right, and even on just like the longer time frames, it was a good bullish reversal, right? Fake out lower and then climb higher. So again, right, maybe we need to be just a tad cautious here, waiting for these things to kind of set up. This certainly looks like it could be interesting. 21,448.50 would be the stop loss for now. We said 259, right, as our target here to the downside. I gotta say, with this mean reversion setup, I actually feel like I've gotten rid of this less maybe than I've expected, which is an interesting realization. So like I said, stop loss here would be 21,448.50. And obviously this would be a one contract play. And now we'd be looking at the aggressive entry technique on this. So stop loss would be 437. Call it 435. And let's see. A good early reaction, honestly. All right, so I'm going to be looking at this here for a short. I'm just trying to get that good pullback here to give me the opportunity. So we're looking at MNQ here if you're going to be trading it, not MES. So we're looking at NASDAQ, right? But the price would be the same. But I don't have the same signal here on the S&P 500. So I wouldn't trade MES if your objective is to trade this. I mean, it'd be basically a retest here of the signal candle low, right? So like 417-ish. And now, right, it's a breakdown. So now it would be 417 as the stop loss with 408 right now is like the entry target. Again, watching here closely. I've got tight risk on this. And let's see. Reasonable reaction. Okay. Put 150 bucks worth of risk. I could probably buy 2 contracts here. Let's see. Does it find support? It's above that 417. So just be patient just a little bit here. Okay, so 424 would be the stop loss. And I wouldn't say that this is behaving super healthy yet. Keep changing this, right? Keeps making lower low fake outs and then pulling back. I'm gonna wait on this. Kind of looks like a fake out lower now as well, right, on NQ. Okay, no interest in this, no interest. Didn't pull back in the appropriate way. And look at that volume profile here now, right? That's maybe a better indication of a pseudo reversal than it is of like a continuation move here to the downside. That ding that you just heard was a 10 min reversal scenario here to the downside on CL. So no interest in that, right? Today CL's on the do not trade list. And it's a 2 minute signal, right? So I wouldn't be looking for a reversal here to the upside. Right, I'd be more looking still for that continuation breakdown. If it can give me a tighter risk reward ratio, this is still in play. But let's have ourselves just a little bit of patience, right? I don't need to be in a rush. Rushing trades tends to not work well, right? It tends to never work out in our favor. I'd rather be patient and not deal with drawdown than, have to deal with 30 points of drawdown before being green again. Sounds terrible, truth be told. Okay. All right, we're still in business here. So we're back in business, I should say. Not still in business, back in business. Again, right, targeting it's 259. I don't know why this keeps moving on me. So 259, right, would be the target. We need to just see a high conviction breakdown here. 402 would be the stop loss now. We're looking for a breakdown under 391. So about 11 points of risk, $220 a contract. So I could be looking right at 2 contracts here. So 21,402 stop, 2 contracts. And let's watch this carefully. Too fast, way too fast, way too fast. Wait, kind of deja vu, right, to this 938 candle. So now stop would be 412.25, which would make this a 1 contract play. I'll just call it 413, just round it up. All right, so a little bit better. Still not quite ready for me. Might have the jinx touch here today. Okay, now would be 420 stop loss. Nice. Increasing volume, lower low, lower high, fake out under 400. Again, still no rush here, still no rush. I'm like literally gripping my my chair, holding its handles. Kind of looking to see how price action reacts at the initial morning low. If I could get that 427 to be my stop loss, that would be really interesting, actually. So 427. That again, that ding was not an entry. That was a CL 15 min reversal signal. Yeah, profit target's 259.75 here. It's that white line. It's whatever the signal price is minus 167. Got a lot of space on this, right? Which is also why I'm not rushing to make an entry decision here. Like contextually, we've already seen fake outs happen, right, in effectively both directions. And then we know, right, that price action is going to be maybe a little bit bouncy here today with that option expiration. So if I can just contextually kind of piece together the puzzle here a little bit, right, all that information is telling me to slow down versus to speed up. And then again, same thing, right? It's a capital preservation Friday after what's been a really strong trading week here. I don't need to be in a rush to do anything silly or to do anything crazy or to like ruin my weekend on a Friday, right? I basically want to be I don't want to be like spiteful in my trading here, right? I want to be controlled and disciplined and structured and not feeling as if the market owes me something. And so just being slowing down that process, right? Basically letting those like emotions evaporate going to allow me to be a lot more objective here today. Doesn't mean I'm not interested in taking a speculative shot. I absolutely am, but it just has to be the right one. I don't know if we have the right one here yet. That this is just screaming fake out lower, right? For now. At that 387, same thing here on ES, right? We're kind of getting that fake out lower type scenario. And so nothing here is particularly enthusiastic yet, right? Like I don't know how many times I've had to change this potential stop loss location into something interesting. This is maybe starting to behave like a little bit of a point of confluence. You have kind of like that trend line there. 1 point of contact, 2 points of contact, and now 3 points of contact. That would be potentially something that we could work backwards from. I think we've been looking at this technique probably for like 2 months now, right? This mean reversion strategy. And the thing that probably continues to be the most challenging here is getting the right entry timing. So it's easy to see the signals and easy to place those trades. But as we've seen in the past, if we're just going to do a close at end of day type scenario, this can become like a nightmare very quickly, right? Where it just eats up into our mental capital. So we don't want to fall for that trap. Again, right, just being really deliberate with entries, waiting till we see almost like a double confirmation standard. That's going to bring us a lot of P&L joy. Again, it's 648. I haven't missed anything. You have 436.75 for now, right? 436. Call it 437. 437. All right. So again, right, this might be giving me my opportunity here. That's beyond my skill level, Joe, truth be told. And the thing about algorithmic trading, right, is that like you still need to monitor it, right? So I think the big misconception with algos that you can just like let them run in the background and you can go enjoy your life and not have to worry about anything. That's not the reality. You need to be watching them, right, to basically make sure that they're behaving the way that you expect and they're actually executing the orders that you expect. Because like scenarios where the algos stop working the right way will lead to a portfolio liquidation faster than you can say cheese, and that's a pretty tremendous amount of risk. Like I remember we had an event here, but the fund I worked at, we were um, kind of like in the process, right, of becoming more algo driven or more like algo based decisions. And we had algos that were basically there to help us manage our portfolio when like a worst case scenario event happened, right? So if there was like some sort of black swan event, um, I don't know, like, and it's just hypothetical. Let's say like China bombed Taiwan or something along those lines, right? Um, there would be algos that would trigger that would basically liquidate the portfolio and yeah, basically get down to like a market neutral position or whatever it might be, and it would do that in seconds. And there was a scenario where we had a glitch where basically someone put in a typo on the commissions that were being paid, and they made the commissions like 100 times more expensive than they actually were. And so the internal like optimizer that was viewing our total portfolio was saying, okay, all of a sudden holding these positions overnight is no longer going to be profitable for us. So we need to basically close everything right as soon as possible. And we ended up liquidating just a little bit over $500 million worth of the portfolio in 37 seconds. And it took 37 seconds for someone to notice that yeah, basically everything was dumping and flushing and all that kind of fun stuff. And it's not fun to have to deal then with the ramifications of that. So yeah, introducing an algo, it creates like more binary executions and things along those lines, but it isn't that like passive money. I don't think that they're at the point where we're able to do that. No, because I mean the portfolio that we were running was uh like 13 billion at the time. So it was a like a small chunk effectively of what we were selling. And the rules for when we're getting out of positions or when we were like managing positions is um never be more than 5% of market volume. So we can dump without manipulating the market, right? Or without getting on the SEC regulations. But it was basically just every name in the tradable universe now needs to be sold. So let's sell as much as we can in that period, right, to get out. And then that, yeah, I mean, that was definitely the most stressed I've ever been at work, for sure. Up there, maybe not the most stressed, but definitely up there. Because the way that we noticed it, we had like a big screen that had our P&L on it, um, and we went from being up like I don't know 10 million or something like that to being down 15 million in one optimizer cycle. So we had like a $25 million change in the P&L. And so the panic right around the office as we were trying to figure out what the frick just happened was chaos. And the person who put in the typo, they got fired pretty much on the spot. I remember that, and there have been hedge funds that have been taken out in that way. So there was one fund. This probably would have been 2012, 2013 ish. That's an interesting point. Yeah, we've had a couple times, right? Basically at that like midpoint of the opening range. They were basically really heavy on Facebook. Um, and they had an algo issue, and their entire portfolio got liquidated, and their portfolio got tanked. So they actually went out of business because of their algo. Yeah, great question, Manjeet. So no, I wasn't allowed to trade any of my own personal capital back then, effectively for insider trading perspectives, right? So because I was managing quite a lot of money, or I knew what orders were coming in, um, there's the theory, right, where I could buy my own personal shares right before Arain would purchase their shares, and then basically get like the benefit right of them buying right after I've bought. So I wasn't allowed to do that. And in practice, right, we were able to trade, but we had to disclose all of our positions here to our compliance department, and we weren't allowed to open any positions within 30 days of the fund opening a position. So in practice, right, I was theoretically able to trade, but we had like, I don't know, 15,000 names in our tradable universe. And we had a 3-day, 20-day, and then like 365-day type view on pretty much all of those names. And if we had even executed one order, then I wouldn't be able to basically purchase it. So like I maybe would have been able to buy some like random Korean super illiquid name. But if I wanted to buy like an Apple or a Tesla or something along those lines, no luck. I would have been rejected from a compliance department. The way that they worked around that, right, is that they would put your money, like, so if you got a bonus, they would match your bonus and put that amount into the fund. And so I would get like at the end of the year, there's 2 cycles. So you get your bonus in April. They'd match your bonus and they'd put it in the fund for you. And then you'd be able to get that money or pull that money from the fund the following April. So it's kind of like a retention strategy, right? If you want to call it that. If you weren't employed by the company that then following April, you had to give up that money. So when I quit and I left my job, I got paid my bonus. I quit like a week or 2 weeks after I got my bonus deposited, but I had to walk away from the money that they matched inside the fund. So I walked away from like 150,000 pounds, which would have probably been probably 200, maybe 300,000, right? By the time next April would have rolled around. And so that's kind of how they keep you working there. They yeah, like they make it really challenging for you to quit because you're walking away with so much money, or walking away from so much money. And so once you're in, you're kind of in for life. And that's how they get you. Yeah, it wasn't great, but I worked there for just about 7 years. So I went through enough of those bonus cycles and invested my equity plenty of times. Want to call it that? So I mean, wasn't like terribly off. I finished that job like with more than enough. And the beautiful place, or the beautiful thing about working there, is that it was in a tax haven. I didn't have any income tax on any of the money that I made. So then I was earning um in GBP, and then I moved back to Canada, and the pound against the dollar was like 2 to 1. It was Guernsey, so similar idea. And yeah, I mean the richest I've ever felt in my entire life was when I moved. Yeah, all my money from the UK to Canada. That was the richest I've ever felt. There's a lot of ways to get one. I got recruited Basically from the company that I worked for. So when I was in school, in university, started volunteering at a like kind of a traditional prop firm, and would work there every Wednesday in my first year, and then in my like second year of school, I started trading. There's the data. Started trading there full time, and and full time by meaning like I would trade there from 7:30 or so up until 1:30, 2:30 in the afternoon. And the boss that I had there said, "Hey, you should apply for this job. I know the portfolio manager; he's a good dude." All this kind of stuff, and so it was kind of through a connection that I got that job. Um, so that was it. If you want to get one right outside of school, you have to go to a target school. So certain companies will only recruit from certain schools. That was the policy of the company that I worked for. So they recruited from, depending on the position, but all the like the quants and stuff like that, they were all Oxford PhDs and Harvard graduates and all this kind of stuff, like the super freak geniuses. I wasn't quite on that tier, but yeah, certainly went well enough. I went to University College of London, so UCL. It was a really good school, but it wasn't one of their like target schools for quantitative positions. It was fine for like the trading role I did, but yeah, they do that. And so a lot of those companies, they'll do like campus based recruiting. So they'll do like, the career day at university, they'll be there. They'll have connections with professors on campus, things along those lines. And then, realistically, the easiest way to break into that world is to get a job at a bank first. So on the sell side, and be like a sales trader or an execution trader, or like some US based desk. And then you build up connections, right? And then someone's like, "Oh, hey, you should come work for us. You're a sharp guy or you're a sharp girl. Come work for us." So it's kind of one of those things where, yeah, it's who you know ultimately that's going to probably get you those jobs more likely, because just the application process is so competitive. Like anyone who like they have to officially post all their jobs on job boards and do all that kind of stuff, right? But they're going to get like 1,500 applications for one position. So the only way that you're going to stand out is by knowing someone there or having some sort of connection. Yeah, kind of a bullshit trading range here so far. Yeah, really wiki. Yeah, I've not placed a single trade here yet. It's kind of been nice. Boring, but nice. Generally not a good sign when I get into story time. 5 minutes into market open. Yeah, that's kind of the point, right? Like it's oh, I mean, some of the stuff I've seen on like broker nights out and stuff like that, Kyle, are ridiculous. That was definitely the biggest perk of the job. Oh my god. And yeah, I think Aj, that's it though, right? Like if you just like spend the entire morning on choppy price action talking about setups, you're just going to talk yourself into a trade. Whereas if you talk about something that's like related without it necessarily being that exactly, it's a little bit easier to kind of like remain just a little bit impartial. But yeah, like the broker nights out were always the craziest things you've ever seen. Like we'd be I don't know, I'd be, 22, 23 years old. And, JPM gives you their black card and you're going out for dinner and you're double fisting like the two most expensive bottles of wine on the menu. You've got a steak as your main course, you've got a lobster as your appetizer, and then you've got a doggy bag of both that you're taking home. I don't know how many times I've been to a dinner where there's like 15 people, 10 traders, 5 bankers, and the bill's like 25,000 bucks. Like, oh my God, just excess. By the end of it, like you get pretty tired of these dinners eventually. It sounds kind of crazy. But like there'll be like a week every quarter, right? Where each bank will come and thank you for your business, right? Type thing. And they'll do or you would have done like a dinner with Goldman Sachs on Monday, one with Deutsche Bank on Tuesday, JP Morgan right on Wednesday. Um but the Asian banks, right, would come in later in the week or whatever. And by like the fifth or sixth dinner, right, that you've had that month, you're like, you're not trying to drink because you're just like so beat up, right? You're already having a tough time. So all you're trying to do is basically torture the brokers that are taking you out for dinner. So like you're feeding them the bottles of wine. You're making sure that they're like just the drunkest you've ever seen them. And there was definitely internal games over which junior banker we could get the most blackout drunk on like a random Tuesday. And this was, like the 2017, right? Type time frame. If we were doing that then, I can't imagine what it would have been like in the 80s and 90s. Guys would have been showing up with like a kilo of powder, I'm sure. This was the highly regulated version of debauchery. And yeah, the closest you'd get to like Wolf of Wall Street. So there's a bunch of regulations, right, on what bankers, like what they can spend money on their clients for. And so the way that they would work around that, right? So we wouldn't be allowed to buy you they wouldn't be able to buy you hard liquor, but they could buy you a bottle of wine, for example, right? That's me like basic. But no one ever followed those rules. So you'd go to dinner, they would order I don't know, let's say like a bottle of tequila, right, for you, and you'd be walking around with just like a 2-6 of tequila in your hand. But on their receipt, they would pay like they'd give the bartender £100 tip, so that on the receipt it was like a bottle of wine instead of a bottle of tequila, or they'd take you out to a gentleman's club. There's the right term, and on the receipt, right, it would be uh I don't know, it would be like some restaurant or something like that, right? So they would like scam the system that way. Like the best would be when you could convince them to give you money to go to the casino. So they would get cash back from the restaurant, right? Say, okay, we bought a thousand pounds worth of steak and lobster, right? And then they would charge that on the bill, give you $1,000 cash, and you just go put it all on red and just see where the night would go. So I do miss that sometimes. That was like a fun part of the job, but it's way nicer to have your freedom instead. Yeah, this price action is kind of BS, eh, Joe? My other screen just went on to screensaver. Not a good sign. No trades here so far. I wouldn't say anything really gone particularly close. All we could have taken would have lost us money here, so no complaints. Yeah, potentially. Again, with option expiration day, you kind of expect this. Kind of ends up being kind of a wick chop day because it's very similar to the futures roll, where you're almost forced to buy and sell, right? So high volume candles aren't necessarily a very strong indication of momentum. They could be basically just, oh, I'm getting out my entire position here or doing XYZ. Uh the volatility of NQ is more fun, right? So yeah, like just the moves you get on NQ are they're just nicer in my opinion. You can get like kind of bigger rewards if it kind of plays out nicely. So I just find that to be more interesting to trade. Nice, Mark. What kind of dog do you have? Yeah, and that's sort of the story we saw pre-market too, right? We saw one name up, one name down, one name up, one name down, and we're kind of continuing to see that chop basically just continue here across the board. I think the reason, right, why we maybe don't need to be super concerned about this sell-off here yet is we're not getting a similar reaction here from the VIX, right? Things continue to still be kind of in that relatively low volatility environment. So it's hard to like fall in love with this here so far. Oh, that's adorable. I've got an Australian Shepherd. He's my risk manager. I call him. He's the best. He's the best little boy. Oh, nice, Kyle. He must be like he must get a lot of space on the sidewalks when you're walking with him. Yeah, same with my guy. He's got his head in my lap right now. Give me attention. Yeah, they're the best. I will only have Australian Shepherds for the rest of my life. Love my little buddy. Oh, I'm sorry, Robert. Problem with dogs, right? They're the best things in the world, but fortunately don't live for very long. I took my dog to go meet my aunt and uncle yesterday, and they just could not stop talking about how many gray hairs he has. I was like, oh my gosh, are you trying to insult me? Spot on, Mike. Spot on. So, when I lived in Guernsey, right? The house that I was put up with by the company was like right on the water, right? It was an awesome place. Um, Big spot. Lived there with a couple of my coworkers and all this kind of fun stuff. It was kind of like living in a frat house, but you know you've got hedge fund money, which was kind of nuts. But right outside of our house, there was like the seawall type trail, and then there was the ocean, and people would like dry dock their boats there, right? So when the tide was out, the boats would be like hanging out on the sand, and then when the tide was in, right, they'd be floating again or whatever, right? And the like probably the wildest thing we ever did to a broker is we got one who got like super blackout drunk. Like this guy was beyond blotto. And when we walked back, we were walking him back to the hotel. The tide was in, and the boats were beached. So we put him onto the boat, strapped him in with like a life vest, all this kind of stuff, tied him down so he couldn't like fall off of it. And then when he woke up in the morning, the tide was back in, and the boat was floating. And he had to decide if he was going to wait out the tide on the boat or if he was going to swim to shore. And that was the best thing we ever did to a broker. I still laugh about that all the time. And just everyone in the morning, right, wakes up and you could wave to them, right, from your place. Oh, it was way too funny. Yeah, so far so slow. Nothing really going on here yet. See if it gives us another one of those 21 445 rejections. It doesn't look like it. We might be able to establish that fake out higher here potentially. And then yeah, guys, like I said, I have a hard out today. I got to drive down to Richmond. Two-hour drive. 2 hour drive or a 3 day walk. Oh, 100% Cole. I'm terrified to drive through it. Are you from PC? Oh, awesome. I grew up in White Rock. Went to high school in Vancouver. Know the area well. Yeah, White Rock's a good time. It's a good place to grow up. Lawson's gorgeous. Yeah. Do it, Jonathan. I just moved back here from the East Coast. BC definitely stands for brink cash though. It's expensive out here. White Rock's pretty small. White Rock, like the town I grew up in, is pretty small. Richmond, I don't know what the population is, but it's like a suburb of Vancouver. So Vancouver, probably greater area, is probably like 2 million, maybe three. I don't know, like that. Yeah, it's where the main airport is. Yeah, spot on, Kiki. Another BC transplant. And it's a great airport too. IVR is awesome. Yeah, won't close above, won't really close that far under. So here's maybe something else for you guys. But yesterday, right, I met up with my Uncle Peter and Auntie Barb. I grabbed coffee with them. They just came up for like a little random day trip and all this kind of stuff. Great to see them. Haven't seen them for like 5 years or something. But Uncle Peter, he was like my first inspiration of what like freedom looks like. He's like one of those guys. He's never had a real job his entire life and has done very, very well for himself. And effectively, what he does for a living, and he's been doing this for as long as I can remember, is he makes like custom Porsches for like Le Mans, right? Or like kind of like those 24-hour race teams. So he spends all of his days racing at the track and doing laps with this GT3 RS and and then building spec cars for people for like $1 million. And so I was telling him yesterday that uh like I need to start working for him and figure out how he pulled that one off because that's one hell of a job. That's one hell of a way to make a living. And he builds like one car a year. That's pretty much it. And then just like races, races at the track every other day. And like, this is a guy. He's a high school dropout. Never went to university. He was a military brat for a couple of years. Dropped out of the army reserves, and then somehow got into building Porsches. I don't know how he pulled it off, but absolute legend. Yeah, kind of a boring start here to the day, but I don't think realistically I would have had any opportunities to have made money here in like a kind of like repeatable way. Maybe we now have that fake out higher, fake out lower, so we can get this little like post morning breakout, right? It could very much be sort of in business. Oh, that would be awesome, Kyle. Get like an old BMW or something like that and turn it into a race car. Be a lot of fun. Like back in the day, right? Like Top Gear would do their cheap car challenges. It would be wicked to do something like that with your buddies. So we can watch ES here, right? It's giving us fake out lower, fake out higher, and now potentially a fake out breakout above those ranges. Might need to get a little bit more volume than what we're seeing here because it's not going to be outlier, right? This volume is going to be pretty pathetic. So it's increasing, but I wouldn't say that's enough. So I'm going to pass on this burden here to the 5-minute time frame and let's see if it can go. But we've been basing lower here relatively well. So there's definitely an opportunity for kind of like those trapped sellers to be kind of stuck. But I can't trade this here to the upside, right? The volume is not nearly strong enough for me to indicate like a personality change here yet. I need to make sure that that volume continues to basically yeah, fills out effectively, right? If I'm going to take a stab here. And then if it doesn't, guys, right? Again, not a big deal. We're sitting on 8 green days in a row. Been an awesome trading week here. I don't have to force anything. As a trader, I get paid for my decisions, not my time. And if the day is not giving me an opportunity to have an edge, my best edge then, right, is not trading and not like making things worse where I have to make things back right on Monday or Tuesday or whatever day, right? So sometimes your most profitable position is sitting on hands. I'm like literally what I'm doing right now. So yeah, 100%. That is action. And again, we're seeing maybe now like another fake out, right? Another bit of chop, another bit of challenging PA. That's cool. I don't mind sitting on hands. Not a big deal. Boring. That's the way it goes sometimes. And that's why on this 3 min time frame, right? We needed bigger volume, right? We needed that increasing outlier because although it's breaking out above those highs, there was nothing there from a volume perspective that indicated that we had like a personality change from basically the price action from 933 to 1024, right? There was nothing unique about that breakout there over the last hour. It was kind of yeah, kind of trappy, right? So it breaking out above high a day or the fake out high or whatever is a setup. We always need to confirm that with volume. And we failed on a volume confirmation there. So it was a very easy trade to walk away from. All right, one sec here, guys. I'm just going to go make myself another cup of coffee. Be back in just a minute. All right, sorry about that. All right, so maybe NQ going to break down under that like 387 area. It's decent volume at least, right? That's at least something. Much better volume, right, than the fake out we got here at Yes. So this could definitely be in play. Kind of nice to, I mean, it's 10:30, right, or 7:30 here, and P&L's not red. That's a nice feeling. So in this context, right, would be boxing in the trade to kind of look like this. So stop loss would be 404.75. Call it 405, right? Hey, Rusty, how you doing? And I'm watching here, team. I am watching here. Okay, sweet. So I am in average price 383.50. 383.50. So not a fantastic entry, an okay one. And it's just one contract. Let's watch. So far, so good. All right, so let's see if this thing's got a bit more juice here for us. Not a perfect entry on this. I probably could have gotten that like 387 type range. Well, maybe a little bit prematurely on this one. That was a bad reaction. Okay, candle. Let's see. Come on. We're basically looking for an aggressive flush and then can look to pyramid in potentially. Want to see it to sustain and push through these lower lows. Beautiful. All right, so now I can potentially look to build up my position sizing here on a weak or gentle pullback. Okay, so I have done that. I now have two contracts, average price 375.75. So stop loss is going to be right around my entry price here. That was a bad decision potentially. Let's see if this thing can get back down. Maybe just a little bit too aggressive with that pyramid. Come on. On, close with some more strength here. Yeah, too aggressive with that pyramid order for sure. See. Lower low, lower high, but yeah, not a great looking bar. So let's see if this thing can break down. It's got to be here. Otherwise, I got to get out. Flush, flush, flush. Yeah, an average price here now, 375.75. 2 points away. Come on, I believe in you. Here we go. Here we go. Push, push, push. Yeah, I don't care about the 1 min. It's too noisy. Okay, keep breaking down here. Keep breaking down. Yeah, I would say too aggressive with my pyramid entry, but thesis was strong, so I think I'm going to be okay. Well, let's see if we can get that little flush here. That's 500. Come on. Crush, crush, crush. Kind of one of those trades where if you survive your worst case scenario, you're probably in pretty good shape to get some follow through here still to the downside. That's 550. 600, 680. Keep going here, NQ. Keep going. The lunatic in me wants to do another pyramid here. Don't think that's the right move, though. Okay, so next big flush lower, guys, I'm going to look to get out. So watch this flush, right? Watch this flush towards 50. And then like a little overreaction move here will be the trigger to get out of this trade. Here we go. 800. Come on, keep pushing. Nice work, Kyle. Congratulations. Heck of a week, man. Nice work. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Don't worry about daily P&L goals. They're kind of useless. All right, so that's 1100. Keep pushing. Okay, watch this flush here. Watch this flush. Basically looking for that little quick capitulation move, right? That quick little capitulation move. And it's coming, guys. It's coming. 13. $1,400. Come on, you're so close. I believe in you, NQ. Beautiful. Here we go. Fantastic. 1,700, 1,800. And I'm out. Closed at 329.50. Closed at 329.50. And maybe a little bit early, but that's fine. And that's 1850.27 on that trade. Let's go. Yeah, hopefully I did a decent explanation there, Ajay. Apologies if I wasn't super clear there. Yeah, good exit, guys. Again, right, once you kind of get that capitulation type move, that's the reason to get out. Let's go, Joe. Congratulations. $1,600 on the day, passing our eval. And look at that. Look at this pullback here. We got that pretty much perfect. I will take that all day long. That was a fantastic trade. Nice, Steven. Love to hear that. Yeah, it was a really strong week. Green every day. I am not going to place any further trades here. 1 for 1. I mean, I had to be a little bit patient here today. That was epic. That was epic. Nice work. $500 first day. That's a heck of a move. Nice work, Patrick. Nice work, Nick. $1,000. Kiki, 600. Beautiful team. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It's funny how, yeah, things can change so fast, right? That was awesome, guys. That was awesome. Yeah, I mean, that trade literally was perfect for me. It was designed to make me feel good. Nice work, Eddie. Love that. And we just about bottom ticked it, right? Just about 9 points away from the bottom on what would have now been a very stressful pullback. That was awesome. How's everyone feeling? Everyone feeling good? Nice work, Jeremy. $500. Fantastic. No worries, Cole. I mean, Mike, I literally just grabbed a coffee and then Greg started to set up. So maybe getting the coffee was the good luck charm here. I appreciate you saying that, Steven. It's I think we've got a good community here. We've got a lot of really motivated traders. That makes trading with everyone really fun. And it's kind of nice that the last day of the week was also the calmest day of the week. Now, it wasn't perfect. I do think that I was probably a little bit too aggressive on my pyramid and a little bit too aggressive on my entry, right? So had I bought in instead of at that 383.50, had I gotten that 387.50 or even 390-ish, I would have made an extra $500 on this, right? So I've got reasons to be a little bit annoyed with myself. But all things considered, this was still a really good result and a great way to end the week, pushing us to 9 green days in a row. And yeah, can't complain about that. I actually think I'm like $50 from passing this eval, which is kind of ridiculous. And yeah, always, Kyle, right? My objective here is to basically be as transparent as I can be with what I'm thinking. And that's both good and bad, right? There's going to be times where, yeah, you get just like uh, me doing a victory lap over my 20s we had here early. But then, when things settle down and you get a nice setup, I'll always be transparent and clear over what I'm doing. There's no way for you guys to actually become better traders if I'm just being Mr. Hindsight analysis, right? That helps absolutely no one. And it's honestly, it's complete and total bullshit the way that those other groups operate, because they'll take 1,000 trades. They'll tell you, oh, good risk management on this one, good risk management on this one, massive win on the other one. And they cherry pick their results. I show you guys the good, the bad, the ugly, and hopefully there's more good than bad and ugly. And yeah, I don't have a filter, right? I don't have a filter for how I talk. So it's kind of just like stream of consciousness. And sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. But yeah, 100% Kiki. I've been feeling that a little bit here too, right? Where it's like my best trades happen 45 minutes after market opens. Look how quickly this thing got back to our entry price. Yeah, that's just the yeah, that's just me being me. But yeah, definitely my best trades that I've had here probably for the last 10 days have all happened after 10 a.m., right? They've all happened after 10 a.m. So we'll see how long this pattern continues, but that might be something that we look into adapting or evolving, because the data is not lying, right? If I just avoided my trades from say 9:35 to we'll say 10:05, I'm probably up 5K more per account this week. And that's a big difference. Huge difference. All right, guys, I got 9 minutes here. So I'm going to go final call for questions. Anything maybe that I haven't broken down, or anything that maybe hasn't made sense. Hey, thanks for the reminder, Joe. I will try to make something here this weekend about that. That's a great reminder. Thank you. And yeah, look how quickly this thing pulled back to entry price. So no complaints, really strong trading day. Felt pretty calm, I think, all things considered too. And I mean, best trades in the world, right? Or best days in the world are the 1-for-1 days, right? That was awesome. Anyway, great to hear that, Kyle. So, any other questions here, team? Any other questions? Pretty stoked on how this day went. That was great. I have to also say, right, it felt so much calmer than starting the day off with a loss, right? And then having to like try to put that aside. That was really nice. This looks so stupid in hindsight. Uh yeah, okay, that's correct. Nice work, Mark. Congratulations. Wow, $7,000 on the week, Mark. That is fantastic. Be very proud, man. That is a incredible trading week. Congratulations. Hey, my pleasure, Mark. Glad to help keep you reined in, right? Like trading is a technical or a mental game described as a technical game, right? So the more that we can control the chaos in our minds, easier it is for us to be calm around the price action that we're seeing on a daily basis. So yeah, epic week here, team. Really, really strong week. 52K, 481.38 across all accounts. So no complaints there. PNL sitting very nicely here at all-time highs, creeping towards that 600K barrier. Basically been a straight line here in the last little bit. So again, right, really fantastic follow through. So close to a eighth account here as well. So I'm looking forward to adding that to my arsenal and increasing even my leverage there. Well, fantastic trading week, right? We controlled our variables. We got just a little bit better each and every day. Saw price action well. We trusted our plan. We had good risk management when things weren't easy. And walking away, probably obligated to buy to buy some nicer bottles of wine here this weekend. But yeah, really happy with how the day went. No complaints whatsoever. That was a heck of a week, team. Heck of a week. One of my best trading weeks in a long time. And I don't think that it's a coincidence that kind of settled into my new place, right? No longer maybe stressed out about the move. No longer agitated by everything super easily because I don't have that stress hanging out over my head. That all of a sudden, right, the trading performance kind of explodes. So real happy with how we traded here this week. Definitely some things to improve, but that's always the case. Yeah, stoked with how we finished. That was perfect. So final call for questions here. Final call for questions. But yeah, awesome trading here this week, team. Really, really awesome. And just as a reminder here, guys, right, I'm not going to be streaming on Monday. It's going to spend the long weekend here with my family. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, they're still going to be in town here. But I will be streaming the morning session and doing all that kind of fun stuff. So hopefully we can get some good action. Might be, talking in whispered tones the entire time. Make sure I'm not waking up anyone. But yeah, hopefully we can get kind of a nice day and keep kind of building off. I think it's a well-deserved long weekend here after a fantastic trading performance. And yeah, no complaints. That went really well. So final call for questions here. Final call. Otherwise, it's time to bugger off. All right, team. So if no further questions, I'm going to kill the stream here for the day. Same deal like always, right? If you have any questions, hit me up outside of market hours. I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Today, it might be a little bit slow on the communication because I'm going to be spending a couple hours here driving and then dealing with like the dealership and stuff like that. So just bear with me a little bit here this morning. But hopefully, right, we have ourselves a great long weekend. And then, yeah, guys, I'll see you all on Tuesday, and we'll look to kind of keep the streak here going. So great trading here this week. I think we had improvements every single day. And yeah, really optimistic with how this sort of session went. And yeah, things to improve, things to be happy with, things to focus on. But all things considered, guys, that was awesome. So yeah, same deal like always, right? If you have any questions, hit me up outside of market hours. Otherwise, we'll talk soon, and looking forward to seeing you guys all on Tuesday. Have yourselves a great weekend, and I'll see you then. Peace.